Hello everybody, this is Ian Rosario, second period honors biology, and this is my axolotl cross explanation. For this explanation, I'll be doing cross B. So for parent 1, it is a melanistic male. Melanistic axolotls are able to produce melanin, which is responsible for the black color. For parent 2, it is the same thing as parent 1. It is also a melanistic axolotl, but it is female. And so it can also produce melanin, which means it can produce the black color too. And so here is the cross B offspring. For the offspring of cross B, there were 18 in total, 9 melanistic and 9 leucistic. With these numbers, we can say that 50% are melanistic and 50% are leucistic out of all of the offspring. And the picture to the right shows that the ones that are circled in black are the melanistic, and the ones that are circled in white are leucistic. This is a small sample size of the 18 in total. So the first thing I will be discussing is the parent genotype for melanin. So melanin is a dominant trait, meaning that you could be either a heterozygote or homozygote. So homozygous dominant to express it, you only need one dominant allele to express the dominant trait. So our parent axolotls are both melanistic, which means they can produce the dominant melanin trait, and so it would mean that the parents are either heterozygous or homozygous dominant. The possible crosses for these parents are PC2, which has one heterozygous parent and one homozygous dominant parent, PC3, which both parents are homozygous dominant, or it could also possibly be PC6, where both parents are heterozygotes. To determine the possible cross, we need to look at their offspring. So again, the offspring were 50% melanin and 50% leucistic, and in this case, both melanistic and leucistic axolotls can produce melanin, which means all of the offspring can produce melanin. And remember, melanin is a dominant trait, and if all of the offspring can produce melanin, then all of them has at least one dominant melanin allele. So it can't have been PC6 because 1 out of 4 or 25% of the offspring will have shown the recessive trait of not being able to produce melanin. So it means that that offspring would have been an albino, and we have no albino in our offspring mix. So it either has to be PC2 or PC3 because it is a 100% chance that the dominant melanin allele gets passed on. However, just looking at the axolotl, we don't know which of the possible crosses the parents are between PC2 or PC3. Here on the left, I made a Punnett square for PC6, and it showed that 75% or 3 out of 4 of the offspring would be a heterozygote, which would therefore show the dominant melanistic trait, while 25% or 1/4 of them can't make the melanin, and therefore they are homozygous recessive. And adding on, I made Punnett squares for PC2 and PC3, and in each one of the offspring there is at least one dominant trait, which means they will pass on the dominant melanistic trait into the next generation. So the next parent genotype I did was for leucism, and so leucism tells an axolotl where to put the black melanin color or the golden iridophore color. It puts the black, or in some cases the gold color, in only the eyes and head. Leucism is recessive, and so for the parents of cross B, they would have to be a heterozygote or a homozygous dominant because they are not leucistic and therefore do not express the recessive trait. For leucism, the possible crosses for the parents in cross B are PC2, PC3, and PC4. To find out which cross it is, we would have to look at the offspring again. Again, the offspring were 50% melanistic and 50% leucistic, and in these terms, we could say that there are 50% dominant, which are the melanin, and 50% recessive, which are the leucistic axolotls. The offspring would have had to express, or some of the offspring would have had to express the recessive allele, meaning that they had to have been homozygous recessive. So using the data from our offspring, it can't have been PC2 or PC3 because the result of those crosses are a 100% chance of expressing the dominant allele, which would only produce melanistic offspring. So it has to be PC6, even though the cross is supposed to be 75% dominant and 25 recessive, and we had 50% dominant and 50% recessive. This is the only one we could do because this is the cross that can produce both dominant melanistic offspring and recessive leucistic offspring. So on the left again, I made another Punnett square for PC6, this time in terms of leucism, and it showed that this cross had had the possibility of making both a dominant and recessive offspring. The end. Thanks for watching.